7:30 in the morning, Brooklyn. They just opened us up for work about a week ago. And this is a passive house. Contractor is Clean Construction. So, and the one with the gun. So I've already been tested. So you get tested, you sign in, you use a hand sanitizer. Really nice setup. It's actually a great setup. Hey guys. So you can start to see those simulated double hungs when you walk in. We've got some new crown up. It's going to be living room, dining room. This is a kitchen area. Spent a lot of time on this. This is a new addition. Well, actually, this is an existing addition, kind of a narrow addition, and we did a fill in here. So, got some nice lift and slides. And we're actually going to go right here. And in a second, we're going to pan to a really cool detail from Building Type, who is the passive consultant on this. John and Ed. Really nice. Just to show some of the details of how you deal with that lift and slide. I'm going to continue to walk through. One of the things that we like to do when we do these rear kitchen additions, or when we have the possibility, is we like to put a staircase that connects the lower garden level to the kitchen level. And this will wind up becoming a really nice den, kind of family room space. You can see ERV still has this cap on. It's the small things that count. This is getting ready for a tile wall. Here's another lift and here's another tilt turn. Another lift and slide. So these are great. So you basically just open them. They move almost effortlessly. Just to give you a little bit more of a viewpoint, this is a house where we are doing some exterior insulation. You can see the stove gold that went on before it. You can start to see they've got some of their finishing layers on up above. So it's a combination of some exterior insulation where we could do it on this addition that at the upper level is open on 3 sides. And then you've got our more typical brick wall. Small details. You got the weeps. You've got the flashing under the bluestone. Simple things. That make a really big difference. So this is going to be fun. This is going to be kind of like a Harry Potter-esque kind of hangout spot. Walking through. Notice no mechanicals. Notice no ductwork. Notice no drops. Notice no radiators. Let's just do everything. So again, passive house frees the designer. Totally frees the designer. So what we have here, again, covered. It's the small things that count. That will not get dust in it during construction. That's our air conditioning and heating for this entire space, which is really nice. Coming through. So most of this house is finished, so it's kind of hard to see these things. But this is a perfect spot, and one of the reasons why I knew I could do the video. So what we have here is we have our exterior wall. In this case, just around the opening, we've got some rock wool right here, but the way the rest of the wall is done is we've got the studs that have been pulled off of the masonry wall by about 1.5 inches, right? And then you've got your studs. Then we're using plywood as our air barrier. And then what they're doing is they're filling this with cellulose to really right around here. Again, you're seeing some temporary stuff right here because the door is not installed yet. But then what you've got is you've got your service layer or service cavity where you've got just these nailers. And they're running them horizontally so they can run their wires and so forth horizontally. But you can start to see, it lets them not penetrate the air barrier at all. I think we've got this open upstairs too. There you go. So dealing with penetrations. There you go. Mask off. Nobody else is in the room, so I'm cool. Anyway, you've got your bathroom, and this is another great place to see things. So We can see our window install, and we can start to see this really nice window detail where you can see the plywood as the air barrier, nicely taped. They are priming this before they're putting it on. I know they say you don't have to, but I think it works a little better with it. Then you can see where they made the hole to do the blown-in insulation. Now the service cavity here is pretty huge. A couple of things. One is we're exposed on 3 sides. Second, we have a lot of plumbing running through this wall because it's a bathroom. So, nice and clean. You have a nice roof system, termination bar. What you can't see is 4 inches of rigid insulation below this with a protection layer tilted down. We like to keep all of our gutters and leaders on the outside of the house whenever physically possible. This way, if they ever fail, they're failing outside. We don't have any issues. It's one less penetration coming through. So you'll start to see it there coming through and coming down again. This is obviously temporary, but even the permanent one will continue, come through, and then dump into the scupper, which I think you can kind of just see right there because I actually installed it, but it's a pretty sizable scupper there. So it can take all the upper roof water and this water, but it means that this roof isn't having to deal with all the water from the upper roof. Again, small things, but they make a huge, huge difference. Okay, mask back on. Floor now, and you get to see that Lamelux skylight kind of letting light pour down through the center of the house. Again, what we like to do as a design element is we very often will pull some of these stair elements out further. Still have the trimmer on both sides, so you're really just moving back the header, where it lets the light just pour right down. Even the parlor second floor stair where we didn't want to give up too much middle space, we still pulled that back. It was about 5 inches and we pulled it back a foot. So coming through, we've got a couple of fun things. We've got our Zender unit, nicely installed. Again, with these, we're installing them so that we can easily replace our filters. I probably replace my filter 4 times a year. So a couple of job site things just to say good things about Owen. Again, you've got protected ductwork and you have air conditioning. So they're still conditioning the spaces. Keeps the woodwork going well, keeps the humidity down. This is the tilt turn kind of helps with this. They've got their temporary board right here, nice and clean. So they're not using the house's air conditioning. They're using individual units. Again, small things make a huge difference. So on the main roof, you've got a nice view of downtown Brooklyn. You also have our Mitsubishi air conditioning units being hung off a parapet wall. The dunnage across the roof, which is nice. You have our Lamelux skylight here. We've got a Lamelux roof hatch with glass on it. And then you start to see we're setting up for solar. So you've got the solar canopy, or it's really going to be a low element. You've got the feet put in. You can see he's got it set up to kind of roof over it. So what you're looking at here is you're looking at 4 inches of rigid plus protection, then your roof. And what's cool about this is especially in New York, because we've got to remove the asbestos roofs first, is this is a temp roof under that. So it's really quite diesel, which is nice. Nice penetration setup. So they're getting ready to roof that again. And then after that, the solar folks will come. We're using Brooklyn Solar on this job. You start to see some of that really great plaster work that these guys can do too. It's always nice to work with contractors who have that ability. So coming through, you can start to see how they're setting up for that. This will get that lath on it, and it'll be really well set up. You can start to see that lath right here coming through. You can also start to see some of what we've done here. You've got trade-ready joists, was the joist of choice for the contractor. You know, we don't really tell people whether they have to use wood or have to use trade-ready. We work with our contractors pretty early on, and they could choose what they use. And then we design towards it. But you can see you've got subfloor, finished floor, and you start to see the simple detail of coming through with the fascia, coming down, having it wrap around the ceiling a little bit just to kind of hide that joint, which is nice. Not really a passive house detail, but it's still fun. Our airtight door is here, a Zola, because we wanted to keep the historic door. Historic door has been removed, it's been restored, and we have a temp door so it didn't get destroyed during construction. Another good detail, so very often when we're doing new joists, we're trying to reduce the penetrations as much as we can into the sidewall. So we use ledgers. So here they've parged. In this case, they used a liquid Stowe Gold. We've used a few others as well, but in this case, it's Stowe Gold. Then they install their seal. Then they rapid seal that, and it basically kind of ensures that you've got that done correctly. Then they've installed their micro lam, which allows them to use their joist hanger, and then use their trade readies. Nice and clean. Okay, we're in the cellar now, and it's a perfect time to see it because they haven't really closed up anything here. So this pile of rock will all go in the ceiling. You've got our trade ready joists. You can start to see the benefit of those, where we've got our Zender tubes going through. We've got our sprinklers going through. One of the things that you really have to think about as a contractor is, these trade readies are great, but this is a really long sprinkler pipe. So it's actually having that pipe and having enough room to put it through before you get those on, and thinking about that so you can really utilize these well. But just to kind of focus on what we've got here, the cellar used to be at this height. So we've benched down instead of underpinning the wall. And we did underpin just this area. That's where the stair will go down. But we benched here, and what you have is you're going to have Stego wrap that continues to go up and actually be put right into, or terminated right into where we've got this Stowe Gold. In this case, we've done a little bit of parging. We have installed some of these members, which makes it a little bit easier to terminate. And what they've got here is they've got the floppy bit that everybody keeps talking about. I keep thinking of Kevin Brennan when I say it. But where you can see they've left a little bit of space there for the concrete to move, and that'll get filled with something else that will help that kind of stay sealed. But the Stego wrap is here, then they'll have the next layer, and they'll be able to tape that cleanly. And it's just sequencing. This contractor, this is his third or fourth passive house, so you can start to see they develop the techniques. So the mechanical rooms are very often not in the airtight layer in New York City. We have got a fresh air in the hatch. Sometimes we've got gas, but New York City likes it when you've got fresh air in these spaces, and it is what it is. So our airtight layer actually comes up. Remember how I said those two studs were up there? And we'll pan to a detail so you can really see that. You've got your airtight layer coming through, coming across, coming down where this plywood is. And then that plywood is taped to the slab. That's our detail. So here you can see some good penetration work. You can see some really nice stuff that you can buy off the shelf that helps that happen. And again, it's paying attention to these that really, really makes a big difference.